Hi, I'm Shelley Wood. You might know me from shelleywood.com. This is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make a baby doll's dress with puffy sleeves and a Velcro closure. It should fit most 12-inch baby dolls. That's about 30 centimeters. But before we begin, please go to shelleywood.com to download these two free printable sewing patterns. There is a link below this video on YouTube in the description. Use the pattern to cut out all the pieces you see here. Let's start with the bodice back pieces. Lay one back on top of another with right sides together. By right sides together, I mean that the little floral print touches the other little floral print. So the dark green is on the inside in my case. Sew around the neck and back closure areas. Now that's kind of hard to see in white, so the red thread shows you the seams. Now clip the neck and back closure seams. Be sure to clip the corner. Invert your back piece. Invert, of course, means turn it right side out. I like to use a chopstick to help with the corners, but if you do have a formal turner, that works great too. Press the seams. If you need help pressing seams, I actually have a tutorial offering helpful tips for pressing. Follow these steps to form both backs, and now we're going to work with the bodice fronts. Lay one front on top of another, again keeping those right sides together. So here you see the two front pieces with the right sides together. Sew around the neckline. Clip your neckline seam. Invert the bodice front. So this can be kind of tricky. You have to kind of twist it a little to get it to invert correctly, as you see me doing there. Press the neckline seam. Now lay one of the backs on top of the front. And again, you should have two backs, but we're just going to lay one back over the top of the front. Now, the back and the front pieces will seem a little weird in shape, like they don't match, but that's okay. You're on the right track. Stitch across the shoulder area. You're going to follow the same steps for the other back. So you lay it just like that and stitch across the shoulder seam. Open the bodice up like this and press the shoulder seams to flatten them. Turn the bodice over so the seams aren't showing. Now we are going to work with a sleeve for a little bit. Create an approximately 1 centimeter wide casing along the sleeve's long, straight side, as you see me doing here. So I fold once, a tiny fold, and then I fold a little deeper fold, like 1 centimeter for the second fold. You'll want to do that all along that long straight edge. Now you're going to see me insert my needle inside and pull through so that the knot is hidden inside the casing. I kind of like to do that, and then I use a whip stitch to close the casing, but of course a sewing machine works well too. If you do need help with a casing, I have a tutorial for that. Create a casing in both of your sleeves. Lay the curved part of your sleeve up against the underarm area of the bodice back. And then you're going to stitch from the underarm area to about 1 centimeter shy of the shoulder seam. You're going to tie a knot when you reach that 1 centimeter point. Okay, so here's a fast motion of me doing that. I'm starting at the underarm area, and I just keep stitching until I come to 1 centimeter away from the shoulder. Bring your sleeve's curved edge around to the underarm area of the bodice's front. And again, this can be tricky to understand the instructions, so I'm going to show a video. You're going to sew from the underarm again to 1 centimeter shy of the shoulder seam, just like we saw before. Only here's how we wrap it around. It can be kind of tricky. You just wrap it around and reconnect that sort of curved edge of the sleeve to the underarm area, just like you see there. Now when I am doing my stitches by hand, I like to use the backstitch, which will be especially helpful when we attach the skirt. But if you need help with that, I do have a tutorial for that one too. Knot your thread when you get to that 1 centimeter from the shoulder seam again, and here we go. I'm going to show you how I'm doing the back stitch, and then when I get just 1 centimeter away from the shoulder seam, I'm going to knot my thread, and it's going to leave a little gap in between. So it looks like this now. You can see my finger sticking through there. And here's a video to show you exactly how it looks, because I know sleeves can be tricky, and a sleeve with a casing and elastic is especially tricky, so I want to make sure you understand there's a hole right there, but we will attach it. We're going to gather that to make it nice and puffy, but for now it's got a nice gap in there that we'll be working with in a second. Alright, so we've got a little opening, and be aware that that's what you want. Okay. Now I've sewn up to just 1 centimeter shy, so there's like a 2 centimeter space at the shoulder on the bodice part. Now you're going to gather the loose fabric of the sleeve near that shoulder area. The red line in this image shows where you're going to gather. So you gather the sleeve, not the shoulder area, but it's near the shoulder area. Okay, and when we gather, you don't want to tie your knot right away. You want to kind of pull those gathers like you see me doing here to tighten them, and then re-stretch them. See how I'm re-stretching to see that they match up in length with the shoulder seam. Now you're ready to attach that fabric, knot your thread and attach the fabric all along that shoulder seam, sewing from one end of the opening to the other to close it off. And again, when I attach gathered areas, I like to use the back stitch, which is what you're seeing here. And again, I've got another tutorial on back stitch. Okay, so there's my complete, well, not quite completed, but at least attached sleeve. Now the sleeve and bodice should look like this at this point, and here's a view from the other side, from what we would consider the right side. You're going to follow these same steps to do the other sleeve, and then measure your doll's arm for elastic and cut it. You'll need 2 pieces of elastic for these sleeves. Attach a safety pin to one end of an elastic and send the elastic through the sleeve's casing. That safety pin is a nice little device that helps you kind of push it through. When you get to the end of an elastic, insert a straight pin and it will hold it in place while you pull that safety pin the rest of the way through. And then at the other end, you're going to again insert a straight pin, and then you can remove your safety pin. Hold the elastic in place with these straight pins the whole time that you're working on it, and send elastic through both sleeves. Lay out the bodice like you see here. It still has those straight pins. Fold by flipping one back against the front, keeping right sides together. And here you can tell that we're talking about right sides, because when you flip it, you see that sort of softer green on the sleeve and the brighter green on the bodice. So that's how we know right sides are together. You're going to sew from the sleeve's elastic casing to the bottom of the underarm area. Follow the same steps for the other sleeve as well. The bodice now looks like this. It almost looks like it has wings. Well, let's put the bodice aside for a minute and work with the skirt. You're going to create a double fold hem along one side of the skirt's fabric, and that's the longest side. So you're going to fold once and then fold again. Now again, I like to use the whip stitch along the edge of this hem fold, but you could use your sewing machine. If you're not sure how to do a whip stitch, all these links are in the bottom under the description area of the video on YouTube. Gather the unhemmed long edge of the skirt fabric, but when you get to the end, do not tie a knot in your gathers just yet. Instead, pin the skirt to the bodice first with that needle and thread still attached. This is how you determine whether or not the skirt is going to fit the bodice. So adjust your gathers before you tie your knot, and now it's all pinned. After making adjustments, when you pin the skirt to the bodice, leave 1.5 centimeters extending away from the bodice's back. Do this on both sides of the skirt so you have a little extra skirt fabric that will eventually form a back closure. Attach the skirt to the bodice. Again, I like to use my back stitch for this. All along the gathers you're going to do a back stitch, or you could use your sewing machine, of course. And here I am showing the back stitch. And you can see that there's a little bit of extra fabric hanging over the edge. Okay, open up your dress and it should look like this. Invert the garment. Again, that means turn it so it's right side out. So you can see me doing that. Now it looks like this in front. It looks finished in front, but it still looks unfinished in the back. So we're going to work with that. Remember that extra flap of skirt? You're going to create a double fold hem right there. So here I'm going to show you that I fold it once, and then I fold it again, and once again I like to use the whip stitch for my hems, but you could use a sewing machine. And now we need a back closure. I'm going to use a swatch of Velcro for my closure, but of course you could use snaps. They work just as well for this project. If you use Velcro and you like to sew by hand, I recommend using extra soft sew-on Velcro. It really is nice to work with. And I'm just using a whip stitch to attach mine. With Velcro, the trick is to make sure that one side is opposite of the other. And now you're ready to try it on your doll. It looks very cute. For more free printable sewing patterns to fit dolls of many shapes and lots of different sizes, remember to visit shelleywood.com. Well, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos and free patterns, please tell your friends about my website, where you can find free patterns for doll clothes like this polka dot dress. Goodbye.